Welcome to the Zim Ladies Roundtable podcast. I am Tino. This is my co-host, Dr. Tafi. Join us as we dive into real conversations about empowerment, culture, and progress. Each episode, we share stories, explore important topics, and connect with our vibrant community. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Zim Ladies Roundtable, and tune in to BWTV and Cityscape Radio on brownstoneworldwide.com for all the latest content, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Zim Ladies RT to stay connected. Today, we are excited to be joined by Tina Vincent, an award-winning artist from Zimbabwe. We're going to explore Tina's journey and her process about being a creative. So thank you so much for joining us today. Tina, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. And thank you so much for having me.
You're
Oh, we're
welcome.
excited to chat with you today. It's so exciting. It's always exciting to chat with a Zimbabwean, and we haven't had too many artists on our podcast. So
Mhm.
I'm really excited, particularly excited because I absolutely love art. As you can see
Mhm.
in the background, my apartment is literally a museum. So
Okay.
So, but Tina, welcome. And how about you just give us a little background about, tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to pursue art as a career.
So it's actually a funny story. So when I was younger, Zimbabwean parents, they're very like about studying and books. And
Mhm.
so I don't know. I just feel like I've always like really, to be honest, it took me a long time to say this, but I've always hated like reading because I just find it very boring. Like it's just too much. In all the time. So you just get to a point. I'm that type of person that if you force me, I'm not gonna want to do it. So anyway, I'd
Mhm.
be always had to be studying the dining room. So I started just taking paper, computer paper, started drawing. Then when I was in high school, I went to Heritage School, and they had an option of either take music, technology, or what was it? Music, technology, or art. And so I decided to take art. I was like, oh, I can take pictures. I can draw pictures and talk to my friends. And it was like literally that was the ridiculous reason why I signed up. So then I did O level and A level art. And then I went to Lander University in Greenwood, South Carolina, where I studied my Bachelor of Visual Arts. And then I later on, well, as soon as I finished, I got a master's degree in art education. And I'm currently a high school art teacher here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh,
Wow. So
love it.
what's the total years you've done art?
I feel, like I said, I really feel like I've reached go-go heights at this point, but I think it's about like 25 years. About
Wow.
25
Oh,
years. So it's
wow.
basically it started when I was in high school. Like I said, it's like I can do art for hours, like literally
Mhm.
hours. But I think the issue is I'm such a multitasker. So I can be working on my art, I can have my headset on, be talking to my friend, watching a movie, and doing my art. But when you're talking about reading, it's like you have to shut everything down. So yeah.
Mhm.
So how would you describe your artistic style and how has it evolved over the years?
I feel like I wanted to create like a very like contemporary style of African art because I feel like especially living in the United States, like every time you see something African, it's just like this yellow kente cloth. And I feel like
Mhm.
there's so much more to us than that. Like most of the time, even in Zimbabwe, I don't remember seeing everyone just wearing Mazambia all the time.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
wanted to create something that you would automatically know that this is an African woman and show that it's deeper than just the brown skin. It's deeper. It's like the body shape. And sometimes I feel like when you see the bodies are telling stories where some of them look older and some of them, like this one is an older model of one that I made a long time ago. Because when
Mhm.
I started, they were much older because then I didn't have to make everything precise. So everything was very like saggy and it was like standing where it stood. So as I
Mhm.
got better and better at it, the bodies got tighter and the women got younger. So like you can see she's
Mhm.
Oh.
and
I
young.
love it. But what inspired you to, because you said initially you said you started drawing, right? You said you
Hmm.
started drawing. What inspired you to get into the sculptures and, just these women of color and the shapes and all of that? What inspired you to get into that?
So, when I married my husband, I moved from Spartanburg, South Carolina to Charlotte, and the school that I was working at had hired me on to also teach sculpture. And I had like avoided sculpture like the plague since I was in college. I had never fired the kiln. I just was like, I'm not a sculpture person. I'm just not a sculpture person. And
Mhm.
so when I got there, I was like, well, you know what? Paper mache would be pretty, it would be something pretty cool to be able to um, make sculptures. So I decided to make paper mache sculptures. The ones I started with were definitely anagongo. They were not this young. Like I feel like it's harder to make a firm younger figure.
Mhm.
Even with the plus size, it's harder. But when you're talking
Mhm.
about gogo, even everything is falling. It's in there somewhere. So I feel like I began practicing. So I had my students make paper mache people. That was one of the lessons that I did, and then I just continued fine tuning it, and yeah, just continued fine tuning it, and then I started getting clients wanting to buy them, and I was really having a hard time keeping up. So during COVID is when I really dove deep into doing my work. So I'm mainly known for the paper mache sculptures, but I also do quilted. I also do quilted mixed media pieces, so quilted onto the canvas, quilted wall hangings, collages, and paintings.
Oh, oh, I love it. And but specifically the women of color. I mean, those are so beautiful. Like, what is it? Is it your cultural background that inspired you to focus on women of color? And okay, well, actually, let me backtrack. Apologies, let me backtrack. Can you explain what is paper mache?
Yes.
Okay, so paper mache is a technique where you basically, well, you start with paper and you create a form. The inside of the paper, sometimes you can have armature to stabilize. So sometimes most people would know that, oh, you put a bottle inside and then you just start making this figure. So whatever you put inside is in there to stabilize. For me, most of the shape that you see with my paper mache women is it's all paper. Like I just start forming it. And on my Instagram, there's actually a couple of videos of me actually crumpling the paper into these forms. So once I've created the form, I tape it up and then I have a glue-like solution and pieces of paper. And then I just begin applying the glue and the paper. And I feel like my favorite thing about it is it's such an underestimated technique. Like people just think paper mache, like that's something you do in like grade 3 and it always looks like
Mm-mm.
trash. So I feel like I love like coming up with like even this is another favorite one of mine. I love coming up with these
I love that.
ladies. Whoops, I don't know, the camera's kind of weird, but anyway, I just loved coming up with these ladies that just look very high class and yet they're just
Mhm.
made of paper. And I think it
Mhm.
speaks to the idea of don't underestimate. Just like if I feel like even as women, sometimes we're underestimated. People just see us and be like, oh, she's,
Mhm.
and especially for me being an artist from Zimbabwe, a lot of
Right.
people thought I was crazy or I was joking when I said I was studying art because they thought it was like some kind of joke.
It's done very well though, because I've seen
Thank you.
some paper mache art and it didn't look good. And your stuff looks classy, it's professional, it's clean.
You can't even
And
tell it's paper.
you
Yeah.
can't. And you can
Hmm.
tell the definition of what you're trying to do, those
Thank you.
hips, the everything, the shoulders, it's all the same. Like
Hmm.
literally, that is my body.
And so like this, like I said, I brought a couple of them to show you guys. This is another favorite of mine. I feel like the idea on them is like, if she can do it, so can I. She's like in her
Ooh.
bathing suit, like she's moving, like she has
Yes.
confidence. You know what I'm saying? Like she's
Right.
not looking all like, oh my gosh, am I okay? Because I feel
Hmm.
like I know like for me, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like can I wear the bathing suit? Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but if you come with confidence, everybody's just like, wow, who is she? She's
Right.
beautiful. And so I feel like I like that idea of them, that they're large and they're just like, this is who I am. This is my summer body and it is what it is. So
So as a Zimbabwean artist who's living in America, what challenges have you faced and how has it shaped you?
I definitely think the idea of like being underestimated, because sometimes I met other Zimbabweans, like especially when I was in college, and they would be like, "Oh, what are you studying?" And then I'd be like, "Art," and they'd be like, "I know you're joking." Like they wouldn't say it, but you could see on their faces that it was like, "I know you're joking, right?" So I feel like I'm the type of person that I do my best work when you're ignoring me. So just like I said, like growing up when my parents were going, "Oh," that's when I don't do anything. But I feel like when it's a situation of like, oh, someone just goes, she says she's doing art, okay. And then you keep moving. And then every time you turn around, you're like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Like I feel like I move like a cat. Like have you ever seen that cat game where the cat is like you look and then you hide and then you look again and then the cat is like right there and you're like, how did you get right there? So
Right.
I just work very well when, especially like if I feel like someone thinks I can't do something or someone is underestimating a thing. Like I'm sure like there were times at work people just saw me making these things with my with paper and stuff and just probably thought, what is she doing? And these like there's like some substantial financial gain on selling art. Like literally, it's almost like some people are working a full job to make a certain amount of money, and I could just sell one of these ladies, and it's a substantial amount. So
And there's
That's
a community,
incredible.
there's a great community of that.
Mm-hmm.
One that you'd be surprised all your art will be gone if you tap into that community. And not just Zimbabweans, like African
yes,
Americans.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I've even had a lot of Caucasian women are collectors of my work. Like a lot of them
See?
are.
Hmm.
So I actually like this year I had I was in this show called Art Fields where I was able to actually sell four of them. They were a set and it was called Chosen Village, and it was just speaking to like the idea of women and how we go out into our communities and we make friends with people, and those friends become those our closest contacts, our closest connections. Because like I don't know, sometimes I feel like there's so much like I guess people trying to be like all in the culture that like when you're around your parents, you're not really telling them what's going on. But when you talk about your friends know everything that's going on. You don't have to feel ashamed to be like, oh my gosh. So it was called
Right.
Chosen Village, but
Oh, I absolutely love that. But what inspires you? Like, what inspires you to come up with these themes? Chosen village, the women of, just the how do you get these themes? How does that come to you?
I feel like I'm just into like the idea of the overlooked because I feel like I was overlooked because especially
Mm.
since when I was growing up I wasn't really like that much into reading, and in Zimbabwean culture that's like a nightmare.
Hmm.
Like I literally was not interested. It wasn't that I wasn't smart. I just was not
You were
interested.
not
And if
interested.
I'm not
Hmm.
interested, it's going to show because then I was like, instead of studying, I'd be in the dining room drawing the whole time. And then when the results would come back, it'd be like, huh?
You
But
know,
it's weird.
our culture is always forcing things on us. Everyone should be a
Yes.
doctor, a lawyer, an accountant. It's
Mm-hmm.
like there are other things to do in life besides that that you can actually thrive on.
So like my
Mm-hmm.
dad came to visit last year and I feel like it really like opened his eyes and he was like, this is amazing. This is
Hmm.
crazy. Like it's like all along people just were out here thinking, oh, you just have to be doing this and you have to be doing that. But there's like a certain level of success that you can reach
Mm-hmm.
with
Hmm.
these other things that maybe appear to be far-fetched. But I also think that it requires a certain level of like commitment. Like I feel like my art is truly something I'm committed to. I try to always have a presence in my community. Like I'm doing art full time, even though I'm also a classroom teacher teaching art high school, but every day I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I begin working before I go to work. So that way, when I go to work, something is drying, I've left something going on, and then I come
Mm-hmm.
back. So I feel like I've found that it's almost like the people who do like the Olympics or someone who is in a specific like music, like there is another level of work that is needed to get to a certain level of
Mm-hmm.
success. You're not going to just be like, oh, it's Saturday. Maybe I can make a sculpture. No, every morning you wake up, what am I working on today? What am I finishing?
Mm-hmm.
What show am I entering? And one of my favorite things, so it was 2023. I was well, I entered a competition called Art Pop Street Gallery here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where they basically pick 20 artists. They have over 200 entries. And I didn't even realize that um, people have applied for like years trying to get in. So I applied with my sculptures. So I got selected for Art Pop. So I just thought I was just getting one billboard in Charlotte of my work. And it was so much more than that. Like I had my standard billboard in Charlotte and it moved like 2 or 3 times. It was on the interstate. Then I also had my work on display all over the United States, and all over Charlotte. We had our work on display in Times Square, New York that year. And so
Wow.
there was so much that I was learning. Like there were things that I just never really thought about that, hey, like I took a business class and they were like, people can't know they want a thing that they don't
Mm-hmm.
know exists. So it's very
Yeah.
important that you create a situation where they're able to see this thing. So like even now, sometimes I'll even pay for like Facebook ads or Instagram ads. Even I mean, it seems crazy to say, oh, I'm gonna put $50 into an ad, $100 into an ad, but if that 50 or $100 turns into a $2,000 sale, it's done
Mm-hmm.
its job. So
Absolutely.
and sometimes and also there's also a high value in people seeing the work even if they're not
Mm-hmm.
buying it, they're seeing it, they're
Mm-hmm.
talking about it, then it becomes, oh, I know her, I know that
Mm-hmm.
work, that's Tina. Like also
Mm-hmm.
that being able to like identify the work.
Mhm, absolutely. And you know what? I was going to ask you about a significant moment or achievement, but girl, you mentioned Times Square, billboards. How many of us Zimbabweans can say we've been on a billboard, we've been on Times Square? Like,
I don't know
not
any.
right. I don't either. Definitely not personally, especially. And I think that's just absolutely incredible that you've been able to achieve so much, and you're really young. I know, when we started, we were talking about, age before we started recording, but, you're still really young and you've achieved so much, doing something that you absolutely love. It's not a job, but it's something that you love doing. And I want to know now, what message are you, or what emotions are you trying to convey with your art? You're on Times Square, like Times Square
I mean,
billboard.
I mean, it was like one time in February, like it was for a couple of days, but and you can see the pictures on my Instagram. They're there.
We're going to share them to our Instagram as well.
So thanks. But you said, so what am I?
What emotions or message are you trying to convey with your art? What do you hope that people get out of your art?
I just feel like I want women to be able to see themselves. Because I feel like every time I have like an exhibit or my work is somewhere, I love to just see women stop and just look. Women of different backgrounds, black women, white women, it just different backgrounds saying, "Oh my gosh, this is my body and she's beautiful." Because I
Mhm.
think that there's just been so much push on these really thin dolls or these really unrealistic body types. So I just want them to see that, wow, this is my body and look how confident the doll looks. I wonder
Mhm.
if I'm confident like that. I mean, maybe that's what sometimes it's like how we carry ourselves is what people see. So if I'm feeling insecure, you're going to see insecure. But if I'm very
Absolutely.
confident, you're going to be like, oh, wow, she's confident. I want to be around her. And then even the
Mhm.
idea of the sculptures together in any kind of show as a collective, together, the power we have as women. And the women come in different skin tones and
Mhm.
body types. So the skin tones, some of them are jet black, other ones are brown, some of them are even albino. So it's
Mhm.
the entire like spectrum of colors
Mhm.
that I try to represent. And sometimes I'm just out and I'm like, and I remember a few months ago, I was out and I saw someone with freckles and I was like, I don't have one that has freckles. So then I decided to make a sculpture that had freckles. So it's like really seeing people and just being out and being like, ooh, like even yours. Like, I don't think I have one that has like the tips, like the locks with the color on tips. So that might be the next.
Oh, can you
That
please
might
Can we
be
have
point
one
to
with
me?
glasses?
I did do glasses one time. So there's a doll collector out of Seattle, Washington. Her name is oh my goodness. um, I forgot. I'm gonna have to remember that. Anyway, she commissioned me to do a Sojourner Truth doll. And so I made a Sojourner Truth doll, and the doll actually had glasses. So I actually made the glasses with wire. And that one
Oh,
is also on there. I think it was probably around last year this time that I did that one. So
Everything sounds so amazing. I really want to, I don't know if I can afford it, but I want a, I want one of myself.
well, I will say that so I do sometimes do payment plans. So there's a lady right now who's on a payment plan and basically divvying up her piece into payment plans of 4 different payments. And then once the payments are complete, then I release the sculpture and then she can, I'll probably go ahead and deliver it. And the same thing happened with that commission. The lady did a payment plan where she just paid installments, but she did not get the sculpture until she
Until
finished all the payments.
I
that is
love.
amazing, honestly. So,
So
what advice would you give aspiring artists on who are just starting on how they can be creative on their journey or even just believing in themselves?
I feel like it's important to just start.
Mhm.
Making art is like exercising.
Mm.
Because I remember when I was in college, there were people whose art it was like okay. And then I remember like when I started teaching, I wasn't really making art that much, but they were making art. Like they were making it and making it and making it. And then it was just like these people surpassed me substantially. And then it made me realize that, man, this is like exercising. It's like me going to the gym. Then I get in shape. Then after that, I stop exercising. And then I start looking at everybody else like, oh yeah, I'm in shape. And then next thing is like 5 years since I've exercised and these other people are moving up. So I feel like the best advice I give is just start, even if it's not that good, even if it's not that great. You've got a great idea. Each time you do it, you just keep getting better. And when you're practicing, and another thing, like I really push with my kids at school is this is a career and this is a job. Please do not give
Right.
your art away to people for free because I think there's just that whole idea of, oh, can you just paint me? Can you just, and I'm like,
Mm-mm.
no, no. So like being able to understand this is work.
Right.
Because I
Imagine
think that
getting up.
also, pardon?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I feel like it's it's um it's work. Sorry, I
Right.
lost my train of thought.
And the discipline you have to be getting up at 3 a.m., the
Right.
discipline, the consistency to get
Every
up at
day, even on
3
the
a.m.,
weekend, even on
right?
Christmas,
Wow.
every
And
single
then to
day.
give it away for free.
I mean, and it's
No.
weird because I think at first I didn't really have the confidence. Like people used to
Mhm.
say, "Oh, Tina, you could sell those or whatever." And I think that I don't know if it was like I was scared or what, but I remember when I initially started selling my sculptures, and then I remember I did a couple of shows and I won several awards. Like every time it was like a competitive show, I won several awards, and there was one where I won, and then this lady bought the sculpture. So not only did I win money, then I sold the sculpture. Then she told all her friends, and all her friends wanted
Wow.
one. So then I had to make one for all of her friends. And like, I mean, even at that point, I think they were like maybe $200 or $300. And I was like, are you serious? So that I feel like it's very validating when people are willing to spend money. And I also feel like it's important for people to pay because then they're going to take care of it.
Right.
Because if they don't pay and then someone get irritated or feels a certain way or there's some kind of disagreement, now they're like man, I'm going to throw this. But if you spent a substantial amount, you're not going to do that.
And I think it's just a testament to your to the hard work that you put into it. You know, like Tina said, 3 a.m. I mean, I can't imagine, you know, waking up at 3 a.m. On a weekend at that. You know, just to do something that, like, you know, like I said earlier, it seems like you absolutely love doing this. And I think you know, the price that you put on your art just really shows how much work you put into it, how much love you put into it. And it just really shows how much you're worth. You know, you're not going to put in all that work. You're not waking up at 3 a.m. to sell something for $20.
No.
Exactly.
You're
And
just not.
also, the other thing, the other pointer too is like as far as the pricing, how it's priced is so like initially when I started and these ladies were all buying that price point, there were many people that were willing to spend that particular amount. So now the price had to go up because
Yes.
then I can't, like, I have to keep production the same. So
Yes.
the minute they start moving like hotcakes, the price has to go up.
It has to
Has
go
to go
up.
It
up
has
again because
to.
I have like a
Hmm.
job and I'm like a mom.
Right.
I'm barely making it. And so that's another thing. The 3 a.m. is amazing because that's before my baby wakes up, before my husband gets
Mm.
up. So it's really like it's so amazing. Like my mind is like a machine at that time. Like it's
Hmm.
almost like I've rested and I'm using the best part of my mind at that time. Nobody has irritated me. Nobody has called me. The
Mm.
students have not, I have not seen a crazy email. So by the time at least I go to work or something else
Hmm.
happens, I've already put in substantial hours.
The world
So,
is quiet. Yeah, the world is quiet. I remember when I was in college, you know, that's the time I wanted to study because it's quiet. It's, you know, it's like the world is still, and you know is bothering you or anything. So I absolutely love that. And you know, just to, you know, going back to, you know, to culture, we're all Zimbabweans, and you know, you mentioned that, you know, in our parents, for example, our parents just looked at it as you're doing art. Why? Go and be a doctor, go be a lawyer. And I think that's it's not just a Zimbabwean thing. I think it's really an African thing that, you know, that's and not really an issue, but it's a thing, right? But how do you see the future of art in Zimbabwe, especially with our cultural background, being that our parents don't necessarily encourage it? Maybe now with social media and, you know, they're seeing a lot more out there, but how do you see the future of art in Zimbabwe?
I mean, I feel like I would like to hopefully be able to be a person who can get my art on the next level. I feel like I'm really in the beginning stages. Like I feel like I'm fully committed to this and I want to be someone that's accessible
Mhm.
to, because I think sometimes when people become successful, it's like then they become so far out of reach to be able to work with people from Zimbabwe because um I feel like it's important for artists to have their own voice. And I know that like a lot of times people go to Zimbabwe on holiday and they're like, oh, let me go and buy these paintings. But all those paintings are the same. Like they're not the artist voice. Like there are
Mhm.
artists in Zimbabwe doing like amazing work, like work that they've created, things that they've do you understand what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying to
Mhm.
like say that the tourist ones, but it's where it's like their own unique voice. And I feel like one day if I ever made tons and tons of money, I would love to be able to open a gallery and go and pick
Mhm.
out those artists in their studios, the different things that they're doing and have a space where that work um can be seen because I think and I guess in Zimbabwe most people do that because the tourist stuff is what sells. Like people
Mhm.
might not be as knowing like, oh, this is like contemporary, this is on the next level. Like people might not be knowing that that's, do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, to that point, you know, I think you know, like I said, I've been here a really long time, and every time I'll travel home, it became a thing where, because like I said, like I mentioned, I absolutely love art, and that's a gift that I would bring back I would get, sculptures, but it was mostly like, the mother and child, or the family sculptures or the animals. And, I was recently back home, and those were the gifts that I brought back for my coworkers who are all American. And I brought stuff back, and I'm like, oh, this is so Zimbabwean, this is a mother and child, or this is the family. And, some of them picked the animals because that's what they were more interested in, the giraffes, and all of that. So I absolutely get where you're coming from. And listen, your gallery, I'm there.
Well, like I said, art is very pricey, so I don't know. Like, I would literally have to go and hand pick. Like, there's so many amazing artists, so many amazing designers, and I think it takes such bravery to step out and just do something different. Not to say, hey, everybody's making this, so I'm gonna make it because it sells. To actually say, I'm gonna make this thing, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't sell. I'm just gonna keep making it because I feel like there's also an understanding that I've applied for many things that I didn't get, but I keep going because that's something like people just think, oh, that person just applies for everything and they always get it. No, just being bold enough to say, you know what, I didn't get in this time. I didn't get selected for this, but I'm just gonna keep pushing forward. So, and the one thing I forgot to mention is, so when I got into Art Pop, I took a lot of business classes, and something that I started doing was I started creating prints of my dolls because a lot of people wanted the sculptures, but they were kind of pricey. So then now I actually have high quality giclée prints that I sell of the women. Like, there's different pieces, so it's more like wall art. And then I also started, I'm creating like sweatshirts with the sculptures on them. So I take photos. I also have t-shirts. So it's kind of weird because I remember someone asking me, because like fine art, usually people don't, I don't know if you can see it.
Oh yeah,
fine art,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, fine art people they'll usually just be like, oh, I have to make my art and it has to be in this gallery, and then you're starving. And I'm just like, please stop making it cool to be starving. Like, literally do what you have to do. Like, we're going to Target and Walmart and we're buying shirts with other people's art on it. I'm fine with with that. And then, because I remember someone one time asked me and it was like, hey, do you think it lowers the value? I said, no, it doesn't, because it's a sculpture. So you have the t-shirt, but I feel like I'd be excited if I was out and about and I saw someone wearing a t-shirt and I was like, oh my gosh, I have that sculpture. And there's only one sculpture, but it's just t-shirts and different other things. So I think that's another piece of advice that I would give, is find ways to make money off of the same thing so that you're not having to work nearly as hard.
Do you know I'm not sure if you know, a guy named Ivan. Ivan has a storefront in Cleveland, Indiana. Not Cleveland, Indiana, Cleveland, Ohio. Ivan would want all your stuff in his store. Because when I had an apparel line, I would ship my merchandise to him and he would put it in his store. So I'm gonna give him your contact, and I'll give you his information too. And you guys can talk and see what you can do. Because even your apparel, he can put all of that in there. And
that would be awesome. Because like I said, my biggest issue is everything African is not just a kente cloth. Like, there's just so much more. There's just another level. Like, I love the bright colors. And then I also recently started designing my own textiles.
Oh.
So like, that's another direction that I wanted to go. Like, it's just endless. Like, I feel like being an artist is just like a shopping spree with no limit. Because you just
that's how Ivan is. He builds things. Like, he literally builds. Like, he will make you those accent walls people are doing these days, and he'll build a phone booth where he does all sorts of things. I feel like you guys are going to connect really well. So I'll definitely pass on the information to you. But everything you're doing is amazing. It really is amazing. We're so glad that we found you.
Yeah.
That we found each other.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you for accepting.
Yeah, this is my first time sharing, like, in the Zimbabwean arena. the work that I'm doing. I'm hoping this year that I can try to step out into other states and other spaces and like look for different competitions or exhibits. So
Mhm.
I'm going to be keeping my eyes open for that, hopefully.
So what
Awesome.
projects, do you have anything lined up? I know you mentioned that you're going to be expanding yourself more and opening yourself up, but do you have anything you've already set up for 2025?
So right now I have some quilted pieces at the Delta Fine Arts Center in Salisbury, which is about an hour from here. Then there's another gallery, Mooresville Arts, where I'm a member. Um,
Mhm.
excuse me, I was invited to do this recreating the masters, and I was looking at Romare Bearden, who's a Charlotte. Well, he's from Charlotte, and he focused mainly on collage. And then I also created like a drummer because they had another show called Rhythm and Hues. So
Mhm.
I'm in the process of applying for some new things since it's basically the beginning of the year. But I think my biggest goal is to get out. Like, I mean, I love showing in Charlotte, but I think
Mhm.
there's something to be said about having the work seen in other spaces.
Mhm.
And there, throughout the year, I feel like there are a couple of Zimbabwean events that happen. One of them primarily is Zim
The
Expo. You can
Expo.
always get a table and go showcase your stuff and have some things that people can buy there because they do buy stuff when you go there,
Oh yeah.
especially stuff they've never seen before.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's my first time. Actually, I went to Zim Expo like when it was in Raleigh one time.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
actually hadn't kept up to like where they've had it since. It's been a while.
Last year was when Tuffy,
Chi
actually,
it was in Chicago.
Okay.
Tuffy
Well, oh
is
yeah, it
on
is
the
now
board.
last year. I was about to say last year. It was in
Tuffy
Chicago.
will definitely set you up.
This year it'll be in
Okay.
California. So you're the first to hear that. So it'll be in California this year, in
Tuffy, are
Oh
you
LA.
supposed to
wow.
tell people that?
People need to
Don't
know
worry. Like I
anyway.
said, I
It's
didn't. I say to
fine.
myself, I don't have anyone that I talk to.
Oh, just only after we post, everybody else will know.
Exactly. And they should know, right? Don't worry, we'll be
Yes.
advertising soon, so it's okay. But Tina, where can people see your work? And just to follow what you're doing, and where can they buy this art? Because we Zimbabweans, we have money. Okay.
We do.
So I will say the one area that I feel like I really struggle is keeping my online store stocked because I
Mhm.
feel like I'm the artist, I'm the social media manager, I am the financial person, I'm the delivery man. So it's like so hard that once I've finished everything oh, I'm taking the pictures, I'm putting it in the store, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So a lot of the time I just tell people, please just send me a message. If you see something that I post on Instagram, because I think my Instagram is the most up to date, I
Mhm.
can just generate a link and I do ship. So sometimes I've had people who say, "Hey, I want that," and then I'll be like, "Okay, I'll make a link and I'll send it on to you, and then we can go from there."
Have
It
you
sounds
considered
like you need.
a virtual assistant?
I was about to say.
What's a virtual assistant? Is it like a real person?
It is. Just,
They don't have to be right there with you in your home or anything, but you
and they
know,
can do all those things. And they don't have to be full-time. They can be part-time.
few hours a week, all the stuff that you don't want to do
Have them
or
do
don't
it.
have time to do.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
I
here's the
have
thing.
trust
I see your
issues.
face and the expressions you're making is trust.
Yes,
Yeah.
Is
trust.
that that's the problem I have because I have a business. Now I have to start hiring people. And I'm like, "Oh, all this work I've put in, and then now I have to start handing things off to someone. It's the
But you
trust. You
have
have to
to,
do it. You have
especially
to
as
do
you're
it.
growing, you have to. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll see if my husband can take on that part.
What? But
No,
someone
like
else has to
I
do it though,
Hey,
even if
somebody,
it's
yeah.
I think even when I was saying like I think I have a hard time, like I've learned to say to myself, and I don't know if it's like when I moved to America, it was very, very difficult, like getting
Mhm.
used to it. And
Oh
I
yeah.
spent like a lot of time by myself because where I went, there weren't a lot of like international, there weren't really a lot of Zimbabwean girls. There were some
Mhm.
guys, but I mean I can only hang out with them but so much.
Right.
So I just got used to just being on my own, and I just have a hard time. Like I feel more comfortable because I feel like I can't get disappointed. When it's me by myself, I can get disappointed.
Yeah.
But then when you start trusting people and say, oh, I really care about this person, now they can upset you. And when I'm upset, then I can't make my work.
Right.
And I'm
That's very
irritated, it
true.
affects my work. So I try to always keep things friendly, but from afar.
Well, you're not alone. You got Zim Ladies Roundtable, Tina. So
But you
Yes,
still need help.
you do
I
need help.
know. I know. I'm like I said, I'm really trying. I'm hoping. I don't know. I don't know what I'm hoping. I'm just saying,
You'll get there. You'll
I'm just
get
scared of
there.
people. Like, I think I would be happier if there was like a bunch of people. Like, it's almost like when my son went to preschool, I liked it because there were so many teachers in that school. There were two teachers in that classroom. There were floaters. There were people walking by. There were people looking in the window. But when you're just talking about like one person could be doing
Mm.
25,000 crazy things, and you're like, huh?
Mm-mm.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We get
Like,
it.
and
Oh
even
yeah.
and I don't know, like sometimes working with people is tough because like even now I've made some sales. So during the holidays I made some sales and I'm just like, oh, like where's my check? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but it's like I try to keep it very cool because the other thing is a lot of the spaces are Varungu spaces. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like when you're talking
Yes.
about those high dollars, so like with
Oh
things like
yeah.
that, I feel like
Yes.
especially Munum, like I
Mhm.
try to always be very like, oh, yeah, I didn't get my check yet. And just always do you know what I'm saying?
And if
Like,
you're like me, it's hard to say to someone, "Where's my money?"
yeah, I'll
Because
just
I'm
be
just
like,
hoping
okay.
you're just going to send it, right? I don't need to ask you, "Where's my money? Where's my check?"
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, really trying to stay super nice about it. So, like, but I just,
Mhm.
like I said, I just like to watch how people move, and then it's like, look, if things are, I don't know, maybe it's just the holidays, but like I said, I feel like I try to be very calm, and this is why I like being a teacher too, because as a
Mhm.
teacher, because even when you guys are saying an assistant, like some months are great, and I make major, huge sales, and other months I don't really sell anything specifically and I
Mhm.
love the idea of like if someone says that they want to buy my work, um, I can say, well, this is the price. If they say it's too much, I say, okay, then don't buy it.
Right, right, right.
Like I'm saying, it's not like oh my gosh, I gotta pay my bills, please.
No.
Well, Tina, I hope you start trusting, just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit.
I'm gonna
Not
try.
too much, because yes, you can't trust everybody. But I'm really excited to see more of your work. I can't wait to see, the Locked Girls for, but thank you so much, Tina, for joining us and for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us today. Your passion and creativity are truly inspiring, and it's honestly been a privilege to learn more about your art and the experiences that you've had. I'm stuck on the billboards and Times Square, but we look forward to seeing more of you, to seeing where your talent takes you next. And we really wish you the best in all your future endeavors. Please stay connected with Zim Ladies Roundtable. And always, we can always share some of your art on our page. And, we'll always share with our friends and family as well. So thank you so much for joining us. And to everybody, find us on Instagram and Facebook at Zim Ladies RT. Visit our website, zimladiesrt.com, and catch us on Cityscape Radio on brownstoneworldwide.com every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 p.m. Central. So once again, thank you, Tino, and thank you to my co-host.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Tina,
much.
and thank you to my co-host, Tino.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Okay.